Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Mayor of Kingstown. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. First and foremost, we're picking up in the immediate aftermath of last episode, Mike digging something up. At first I was like, is that like the bunker or something, like the bunker door or something? Turns out it's a whole school bus. I'm like, what? It's supposed to be a metal case you're looking for, so what's this all about? So everyone goes investigating. Kyle, Stevie, and Ian go inside. Lo and behold, the moment they get a whiff of something, I'm like, is it going to be a few dead bodies? Few doesn't cut it. It's 26 dead bodies. I was like, Jesus! And it's like, the biggest question is, why did Milo send you this? Because even Mike's like, I don't, because, you know, since this is related to Milo, Kyle is wondering, like, did you know? And he was like, no, didn't. Mitch know? He was like, no. He's like, do you actually know that he didn't know? Or are you just hoping he didn't know? Like, maybe there's stuff between, there might be secrets Mitch had that even Mike is close. Because it feels like Mike and Mitch were a lot closer than maybe Mitch and Kyle. I mean, that's just the perception we got from the little bit we got between their interactions. But just because of what Mike and Mitch did, it kind of makes you think that assumption. But, I mean, it might not be the case at all. But yeah, 26 bodies, and I love Ian being like, I'm not going back in there because their commanding officer or whatever, like their chief is kind of like, yeah, I need you to go in there. He was like, no, he's like, I'm not going back in there to investigate anything. You can take them back to the morgue or whatever to begin the investigation. He was like, if you want it done, you can go in there. And the guy doesn't say, he's like, yeah, I fucking thought so. He's like, come on, Stevie, let's get out of here. I love that. But eventually, the ADA being there, well, she's just a DA. Evelyn, she's there. And so it turns out that these are all, was it James Parker, whatever his name was? I think this is the same serial killer that got killed last episode. These are supposed to be his missing victims. Now, this doesn't look good because it's like, right, Milo pointed you in the right direction, but the fact is that you showed up and you revealed the bodies and makes you a patsy in this, that this could all fall back on Mike. Because it makes it seem like, oh, like you just happen to stumble across these bodies. It's like you two, like it will from a certain standpoint look like you two might have been in cahoots, that you might. Because like the big question is, why would he send Mike to do this? Because Mike ends up confronting Paul, Milo's lawyer, and he was like, no, it was supposed to be 14 million in bearer bonds because that was supposed to be his insurance policy to get up. So I was like, then what the hell was the 200 grand for then? If he's got like 14 million bearer bonds, is that supposed to be his backup plan? So what were you going to do with the 200,000? Like, did you orchestrate everything to play out like this? Like, have you been that mastermind level, like manipulating stuff? Because it's like, why is he doing this though? Because even Mike's like, it doesn't make sense because the cops are ready to take all 26 of those cases and throw them against him. And then on top of that, the 3 deaths of federal agents are definitely going to get tagged against him too. So what is Milo doing? Because Milo made the point, bring the cops with you when you do that. I was like, so was he saying that specifically for the bus or was he saying that for the bearer bonds? Because why would he say that about the bearer bonds? Like, I guess it's like, right, here's like a whole bunch of money that went missing. If I give it to you, maybe he was hoping to lighten his sentence, or maybe that's what the bodies are supposed to be for. He wants the bearer bond so he can use them after he plays his trump card, these dead bodies of like, yo, I know who can help you with this. And I guess he's trying to force Mike in a situation where it's like, right, you're going to want to help me because if I drown, you're going to drown with me. Because even the chief or whatever was like, right, if you get knocked down this hole, Mike, you better not drag the rest of us with you because this does not look good. So Stevie, Kyle, and Ian are all like investigating this, and you're just like, man, this is, I never in a million years, like I said, I thought, I was like, is it a bunker or something? Never would have thought a school bus, never would have thought a school bus of dead bodies, because like, once again, how does Milo even know this was here? Because Mike was only supposed to be looking for a metal case, because even his lawyer is like, no, but Mike is like, no, I will kill you. Like, you won't even have to worry about my life. I will kill you if you do not figure this out. I will come back to you. You don't even have to worry about me doing anything to you. What I would do to him, I'm going to do to you. And I'm like, Mike is so scary the way he's just like slamming him and just like slamming him against the, oh, poor Paul. To the point he pissed himself. He was so scared. It's like, Mike can be scary. Because the sad thing is, he has so much on his mind right now. Because there's all of this Milo in his games. Then on top of that, he's got Ed calling him. Because Rebecca said that she forwarded all his calls to his new phone. But it didn't go through. Part of me, at first, I was like, could it be that someone tampered with something? Because it definitely will all fall on Mike and not Milo. Because there's actually no... Because it's like, right... He's been locked up in solitary confinement pretty much for 9 years. He gets one phone call. He doesn't have a cell phone, which is, we know it's BS, because Mike's even like, he called me, but it's like, right, there's no actual proof. The cops have your phone as evidence, so they are eventually going to, they would have found something there if there wasn't. So somehow he has like, I mean, to be fair, he had an FBI agent working for him, so it wouldn't be too surprising to suggest he's got other people on his payroll as well, but yeah, so he must have gotten someone to, like, make that disappear and make that not a traceable situation to connect it back to Milo. Like, either made the call disappear or just made it so it doesn't link back, and whatever the case may be. Because Paul was suggesting, like, go back and get those 14 million bonds. He's like, what? Are you stupid? The FBI are going to jump straight on top of this. I ain't going to be able to get within 50 feet of that place because cops are they're already all over the place. They're going to have that place locked down. We're talking 26 bodies in the school bus, bro. Like, they're not going to just let that go. So Mike's got to deal with that. He finally gets in contact with Ed. Ed's blowing up because it's like, right, the leaders of the gangs are all talking. They're not even surrounded by anyone. So he's like, right. If they're talking, you know what that means? That means they're talking about us, the guards. So he's trying to get a lay of the lands because the warden's looking the other way for a lot of stuff. He's not going to want to investigate, really look deeper into stuff because he wants to believe like, oh, it's all good. It's all copacetic. It's peaceful now. I don't want to rock the boat. But Ed's like, I don't trust this. So he's wondering if this might be a hit type of situation. So Mike can go and visit Bunny. Bunny's like, nah, man, it's good. Don't worry about it. Go save someone else. It's like, you're good, you're good. And the moment he leaves, Bunny frowns. And because Mike knew it, the moment he left, he was like, fuck. Because he knew it. He knew, like, what was going down. He knew it's just, he's like, yeah, Bunny's lying to me. So he calls up Duke, Pete. I was like, oh, God, please get there because we know that Iris is there. And I was like, please get there in time. He's not going to get there in time, is he? Especially when they're talking about selling. I'm like, please get there in time, Mike, and mess them up for what they did. But by the time he gets there, Pete and him had already sold her. Like, to the point, she is traumatized. Like, she was in the shower, like, there are blood all over the sheets. And his girl is like, oh, I think we broke our new toy. I was like, God. It breaks your heart, you know? And because the sad thing is, because it came full circle like Mike said it would. He said that things weren't going to, like, you know, he made a point, like, 2 episodes ago, like, what was going to happen to her, that she wasn't as strong as he thought, that she was a bunny, you know? And she finally, like, was like, yeah, you were right. It didn't even take a month of me being here. And he's like, no, you'll know when it happens. And now she did. Because she was terrified, and he, like, injects her with something, on drugs or whatever, to calm her down. And it's like, right, she is broken. She's no longer used to us, so we're going to sell her. Sell her to what I'm assuming, with the red and everything, they're Bloods. So it's like, right, they're going to, like, not put her on the streets. They know how to, like, turn her out or something like that. Like, it's just like, oh boy. And like the moment she got in the back of that minivan or whatever, I was like, please see her. But Mike doesn't, and she doesn't see Mike and can't say anything. I was like, no. I was like, you just missed her. And so I love that Pete steps to Mike because Mike is like, dude, you don't want to do this. And he's like, oh, you forget what we had. And he was like, what are you talking about? Pulls a gun to his neck. It's like, yo, get the fuck off me. It's like, we aren't together because I chose to. We had the same skin, that's about it. But we looked after each other in prison because it was a 3-to-1 situation. We weren't brought together because, oh, some camaraderie of like, oh man, I love you. You know, you protected me and I protected you because that's what we had to do. It was chosen for us. I didn't choose you, so don't get it twisted. That our situation in prison was what it was because it was the only option. It was the only way to survive. So, and it, essentially, like, Mike almost saying, like, right, if it ever goes sideways, he essentially, it seemed like he was implying, like, oh, I'm going to straight up kill myself because I'm never going back to prison. And Pete's like, oh, people said that before. He's like, no, listen to me when I'm telling you, I will not go back. And he's like, yo, don't even do that. Well, don't do that shit here. And it's like, all right. But he was telling him, do not cross these. Like, do not go along with hitting a guard. Because if you do, it will be the worst mistake. They won't just like knock. They will start spraying at anyone that crosses their paths. Like, you think things are bad now. It's like, things are good enough as they are. You cross this line, you kill a guard, you will fuck yourself. Everyone will be fucked because this won't just be Kingstown anymore. He was referencing other prison, but it's like, yo, like, things are going to go hardcore. Like, they're going to strike bad. There's not even going to be a fucking yard anymore. Like, things are going to be bad. So think about that first and foremost. And it seemed like it did seem like his Mike's words did kind of reach him to some extent, but it didn't stop what had happened. Like, the moment Tim's nephew went and that lady was like pretending to be her, I was like, what's she up to? Because I was like, well, we know they got the video and everything, so I'm like, how's that all gonna play out? So she's like, oh, help me, and he's going to take her to the infirmary. And at first I was like, is he in on this? Like, did she reach someone like, yo, I got this, you go and do what I say or I'm going to screw you over with this? But it's like, no, she's still pretending to be her. And then they go into the blind spot, the camera, and she's like, yo, let's do it, this is where everyone else do. I was like, what? Why are you? I was like, because at first I was like, is she planning on, like, because she was like, oh, come for me, baby. And I was like, oh, does she want to get pregnant so it sells her case even more? That's what I was wondering. Because I was like, but the moment he was starting to do it, I was like, you idiot, stop. You've been warned all across the board so many times not to do this, and you continue to do it. You garbage idiot. I was like, no. And then I was like, what's going on? And the moment she stabbed him in the neck and she started crawling away, I was like, okay, so now it's okay. So this was all part of the plan. Make it seem like, right, he forced you by having the video of like him watching you stripping. It's like, right. And now it's like, oh, like no one saw what actually happened. Here I am crawling away. I killed him in self-defense. He was forcing himself on me. Like, check me, like, check my genitals. You'll find his semen. So it's like, yo. And she said like, yo, my boys, I figured as much they were going to get his ass because of that. I figured she had like, I knew she was tight-knit with someone. I mean, because she's probably part of the gang, so it's like, right. Of course, he was going to get messed up. It's like, yo, like, it wasn't, they went full, like, almost wiping out bloodline level of, like, they, not only they went after Tim, they went after, well, they got his nephew first, and then they got Tim. Home dude made sure, once again, I'm pretty sure he's Bunny's cousin, the head honcho dude in prison, or one of the gangs. He ends up killing, he ends up stabbing Tim, and he ends up walking away just when everyone's getting shut down in the cafeteria. So things are about to go bad. Things are about to implode. I'm surprised he didn't go after Ed specifically, but it's like, right, he'll probably go after Ed because he even said like, nah, I'm gonna shank you in the eye. Like he's ready to come after Ed. He's ready to go after all of them, but Tim and Ed are the biggest ones of like, nah, I got you, son. I got you. And I think that was further proof of like, right, the different gangs being, because it passed from one dude's hand to another dude's hand to once he did the actual deed, it got passed to another. They do it in like the little bucket where they're washing the dishes at. So both Tim could survive it, but that seems like that's a vital organ that just got stabbed. It's like, yeah, you good. Like Tim's nephew is definitely dead. Tim might survive, but I'm pretty sure he's dead. So that is what it is. Rebecca hits Mike up and it's like, yo, I can get you we're getting a new office and everything, which is cool. And the moment they're walking across the street, I'm like, isn't it just, and Mike makes a point, we're just literally across the street. You know why this was so cheap, Rebecca? Because literally across the street, 4 murders just happened in the span of like a month. It's like, yeah. But it's a nice place, and he's like, right, like, maybe we can get some new stuff. She's like, and the files? He's like, no, bring the files, but new furniture that isn't covered in blood. She's like, okay, sure. It's just like, and I love that line from Mike, and he's just staring across the street. He's like, I try to get away. 100 feet is all I was able to fucking make it. That is kind of crazy, because even Rebecca's like, if you want a fresh start, we need to leave this town, because this is as good as a fresh start you can get in Kingstown. But I love that line. They're just like, yeah, no matter how much you try to get away from all of this, all he was able to move, like this fresh start of his, 100 feet away, 100 feet, not just away, across the goddamn street. I love it. How effed up and dark and messed up that is. So there's that whole situation. At the same time, once again, the Bloods have Iris. I'm like, man, damn. But then like they're getting diverted somewhere else. I was like, okay, I saw the blood. I was like, oh, I saw the blue. I was like, oh, you're in Crip territory now. I was like, oh shit. I was like, but then I was like, this might work out because they can end up killing these guys, finding Iris, and let Mike know, and that's what's up. Luckily, when they were spraying the vehicle, like Iris got ducked down because like they were spraying mainly at the people that it could see. So luckily, nothing hit Iris. But it's like, yo, Bunny calls up Mike, and he shows up, and Mike like is there for her, and I love that. Just like, do you want to go with me? And she nods her head, yeah. And he's like, okay. And he thanks Bunny. Bunny's like, yo, we got something for those Pecker woods if you need it. He's like, I got something for him too. I'm like, yo. And so he's like, are you thirsty? You hungry? She's like, I'm thirsty and I might be hungry too. He's like, okay, I got to stop the mate first. And they roll up and she's like, no. And he was like, is that the one? Just tell me if he was the one. And she was like, he was the one. Okay. Didn't even get out of the car yet. Mike pops freaking Pete headshot. Gets out the car. Blah, blah. The other guy was like, yo! All I could say was, hey, yo, from that first headshot. I was like, but also it's like, they kind of deserved what they got. You know, it's like, I was hoping Mike would find out earlier and then do all this but it's like, it all worked out in the end. He got revenge, went in there, put everyone down that has something to do with what happened to her. It's like, okay, you're going to stay on the floor the entire time? He's like, no, it's good. It's over. She's like, where are we going to go? And he's like, right, I'm going to take you somewhere safe. And he ended up taking her out in the woods. It's like, right, where is your thing? We have to take it out because that's the only way you're going to ever be safe. That's how Milo tracked you down before, so we have to take out the tracker. And then when you look at her spot, unlike the previous, like I want to say, what was on her name, Candace? Hers was just like a spot, like the wound it healed, and it just turned into like a spot. It's still a fresh enough wound that you can see the cut marks from when they implanted it in her. So it's relatively new enough that she still has the scar, full-blown scar from it. So Mike has to cut it out. He has to go pretty deep. And it's like, right, I can't numb you for it. She's like, I'm already numb. And he's like, this is going to hurt. She's like, I don't, like, go ahead, like, don't, like, worry about it, you know? And so luckily they're able to get the tracker out, which she makes a joke about how like, yeah, this is the last, it's like, right, she's been on a few dates and this is going to be like the last one. He was like, no, don't say that. Don't let them take that from you. But she was like, it was already taken from me. Because I think I interpret that as Mike being like, don't let them steal the rest of your life. Like, you're going to be okay. You're going to, like, this is a shitty, terrible thing that happened, but you'll find your way forward somehow. Like, you'll be okay. Like, don't let them steal the rest of your life away from you because of this. But for her, it's like, it was stolen a long time ago. And I thought it was this tragic, like, lines that she had where she talked about basically at a young age, she's like, I'd actually never been on an actual date, you know, and having someone take me to the movies and then me wondering whether or not the boy's going to, like, I'm going on a date with, like, oh, whether or not he's going to kiss me. It is a thing of, her experience has always been people they kiss her and take everything from her. So it's never really like her choice of like the cute thing of like, oh, is he going to kiss me? And it's like, no, this is how it is. Like, they always take what they want. And so, and I thought that, once again, it's just like that heartbreaking and just like how she's delivering it too, just like rocks you to your core because for her, it's a situation of, she at the time thought like, right, she thought of it as something beautiful because she liked the attention that she got, but because she wanted to, her way of dealing with it was pretending like, oh, it was something beautiful. She was an adult. Now she realizes and recognizes it for what it was. It's like, I was a child. I was taken advantage of, and I was put in this position, and people took from me. She's like, I've never been someone who believed in God and the devil. I still don't believe in God, but I believe in the devil. I've seen him. He's looked me in the eyes. Every dream, every fear took everything from me. And it's like, the person who did this to you was a man, not the devil. It's like, yes, he was a man, but he was also the devil, you know? And that's the thing of like, no matter what, I think for Iris, she's saying that basically what was taken from her because he was saying like, right, what they did to you will heal. And she's like, it will, except what they did that won't. There are just some things that can't heal. That damage is there. And I don't know. I don't know if there's ever a full way from ever fully coming back from something like that. I think you find a way to move forward, but those scars sadly stay with you. And I think it's just somehow finding a way to move forward with those scars. It's, you know, it's not going to be an easy thing to break away from. And so you can tell Mike is going to take her to his cabin to get her like off the grid and far away from everything and everyone. And but I love that line too where she was like, we're all devils, all of us, you, me, like we're all fucking monsters in our own way. And in that it's like the phone starts vibrating. She's like, you can take that. And he was like, no, there was no caller ID, so I'm wondering if it was I'm assuming it might have been Milo potentially reaching out. But he's like, right, let me show you like one of my favorite parts. And just when they cross the like horizon, it's like, and there's no service. And he's like, yeah, like magic. And she's like, yeah, until you cross over the hill. He's like, yeah, there is no magic. And you're like, because basically it's like, right, all of this is just a temporary escape because eventually you'll come back. Because it was like, Bunny said it last episode, and even Mike said it this episode of, right, no matter how long you're away from it, bad news is going to be right there waiting for you. So yeah, you get a temporary escape. Like, but there is no magic. The moment you cross that hill, over that, go downhill again, it all comes back. The real world seeps back in, so... I'm fascinated to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. Finding out about these bodies, how it ties into Milo, what he's really got planned. Plus this whole prison situation is about to implode. Once again, despite everything, Bunny and Mike are good, especially after this whole Iris situation. How he handles things with her going forward, how he helps her, can he even help her? Like, what is he going to do on that front? A lot of questions, a lot of things to keep in mind as we go forward from here. But I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us going forward from here. Just like this, once again, this show is kind of, it's rough. It's heartbreaking with just everything that's going, especially the Iris stuff. That's really just, that's a lot, dude. That's a lot. Hopefully we can, I don't know, like I said, everything's imploding already, so there ain't no easing up from here. Things are just going to heat up and get worse and worse before they potentially get better, if they even get better at all. If that's even possible, we'll have to wait and see. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.